All right, thank you all for coming. Call this meeting of the February Recreation Committee to order. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move. Second.
Okay, so Tom and Holly, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposition? Okay. Approval of our introduction of guests, I assume, let's see. So we'll start here.
Calvin Duty.
Mark Quinton.
Melinda Aylward.
Cheryl Dowden.
Judy Weatherly.
Joe Dalton.
Terry Wiley.
Nikki Sherman, voice.
Okay, and did you all sign the?
It's right
It's
there.
good. Perfect. Thank you very much. Glad to have you all here. Okay, and then approval of our past minutes. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, well, on the
Deer
minutes?
hunting come into the recreation? You do all that?
That's common property.
It's in, I mean, the way you mentioned it,
What did you ask?
The deer hunting is held, or they're not tryouts. The registration and the qualifications are held at one of my facilities, at a recreation facility.
yeah, I was just noticing, it was in here, you responded to the blind, I thought maybe it came under you or something.
Because it's on a trail, and trails are mine.
Oh,
That's why it fell under me, because it's off of the Hernando Trail.
Okay. My comments are only that I have received a lot of comments on the commercial listings of Mr. Cooper's reserve properties in the village. And they've always been available for sale. They're just, signs are now officially out. But the one that was the most important that people have asked me about, of course, is Cortez Beach. And as this committee knows, we've never owned Cortez Beach. We've been very careful about the money that we spend there to keep it safe for our residents who use it. But we've never spent gigantic amounts of money there for something that we don't own. We've known that's always a possibility, that it could be sold. And I guess my one question would be, is there any other place that, should we lose that beach, that a beach could be established on that lake?
Cortez is really tough. There's not a lot of common property, and we've looked at that before, but there's not a lot of common property available around Cortez that provides both the beach and the parking area.
The parking would be a big
And the parking
big
is
deal.
the biggest deal.
Mhm.
Yeah. You could certainly, I mean, there are some common property areas immediately adjacent before you drive out through the causeway. There's common property between that house and the lake. There's no parking. You would be literally on somebody's backyard. So it's not an area that would necessarily recommend, but, you know.
And have you heard anything about any potential buyers on that property?
No.
Okay. Yes, Mary?
We had talked about DeSoto Beach, and you did kind of a title search and said, good
We
news
own
is we own it?
Mhm.
Okay.
We
so-
own Balboa Beach and
Yes.
DeSoto Beach.
Okay, so there's going to be no sign on DeSoto.
No.
No sign on DeSoto Beach.
And I'm just addressing it here because I have had multiple, and so that we can say it out loud to everybody. That's the status. We've always known that was the status. We hope we don't lose it, but it was always the chance.
It's not our only amenity. It is our only major amenity on reserve property, but there are a lot of our trails. And maybe even a majority, maybe not a majority of the percentage, but it's a high percentage on reserve property. Cedar Creek is a great example of that. The Cedar Creek Trail System is sitting on reserve property. And we've always known reserve property, you know, that's the developer's right to sell, develop, however they want to do that. We've known, it's one of the reasons we don't pave a lot of the trail systems. because it is on property we don't own. So, going in and moving some trees or winding through the trees and putting down a surface material doesn't cost a lot of money to put in a trail system. And if you'll look, most of our trail system is built where the parking lots were already available, or they were where the old group mail houses used to be. Back when the village was first established, a lot of those pull-offs you see on the road are reused for parking for trailheads. That's where the group mailboxes. So no one had mailboxes at each individual house. You had mailboxes set throughout the village, and you had to go there to get your mail. And so we utilize those for parking in a lot of cases. So.
Okay. Then I have no other chair comments. So we'll go to Nancy for board liaison comments.
Well, thank you. I was not at the last board meeting, so please don't ask me any detailed questions. Okay? My husband had open heart surgery, and he's moving on it. He's doing pretty well. But I do know that many of these things did pass that were in the current agenda, or the current business aspect of the agenda. The policy revisions, Chapter 1, Article 1514, that was the appeals policy. That did pass. I don't have the actual paperwork with me, so again, questions on that might be best if you go back to the minutes or the notes online at explorersvillage.com. Bylaw and policy changes to board elections and votes also passed. There's a new procedure in place for that. The POA will not handle any of the ballots for the director's election, and also for any declaration or any change, any other type of election that might be needed. Although the staff did not handle declaration ballots anyway. A finance committee charter was brought forth, and it passed, and I believe as it was stated or as written. The person from the board was appointed, and that's going to be Diana Podowitz for the finance committee. The chair, as you might have guessed, is, well, not might have guessed, but if you read it, is going to be, is the corporate treasurer ongoing. And at this point, that would be Liz Mappus, the CFO. Diana actually gave up chairmanship of the audit committee to be on the finance committee because it was impossible to do both. The previous board recruitment committee was disbanded finally. No applicants were ever received for that committee. It was misunderstood and has long outlived its usefulness. So that is no longer in existence, and that passed also to disband it without problem. Other than that, it was, I think, a normal, eventful board meeting, and I'm sorry that I missed it, but I was at St. Vincent's on Little Rock. I'm just like that with that layout. You walk miles.
Better.
He is doing better. It'll be a couple more months, but thank you. Any questions that I can't answer that maybe have nothing to do with the board meeting?
Okay, I'll throw one out there. And I don't know if you can discuss it or not, but is the board talked about buying the property on Cortez for the beach?
Well, the price tag is $549,000. Obviously, that wasn't budgeted. So I don't believe there's been any conversation of buying that at this point in time by the POA.
Does that include all that land?
It includes the causeway and the peninsula.
3.49 acres.
Yeah.
Yep.
3.49 acres. But there's a lot of reserve property in the village, and it is all on the market. And as you know, being the developer, the developer is not bound by the same restrictions that we are. That property could become almost anything. That could become a resort. It'd be a sad thing to do, but it could become storage units. That would be sad use of that property, but all of it could become anything the new owner wanted it to be.
If I remember correctly, Before the market fell out, Cooper was looking to either sell or build there a high-rise apartment complex,
Yeah.
and it was getting ready to go to lawsuit with all the people that were along the shoreliners on Cortez. Are there any restrictions? No restrictions at all, what he can
It's
sell it
Cooper's
for?
property. He can do whatever he wants with
But
it.
don't we have like so it's commercial, but don't we have we don't have any kind of guidelines on what you can put where?
Reserve property is not currently platted and it's not zoned.
Which
We
means it
have
can
to-
become anything he wants it to.
Anything the new owner wants it to be. The POA has nothing, absolutely
It can be
nothing.
residential, it
to
can
do
be
with that.
commercial, it doesn't
Because he
matter.
still has all his developer rights, so he can do what he wants to do.
If it does commercial, they still have to let people in it's a commercial building or something, they have to let people in
Yeah, the declaration holds the rights for commercial businesses to be able to have customers.
Mhm. So, I mean, that's the way it is. And you know, obviously, I mean, Donna, you sent out an email, and obviously, I'm sure that the use of the property, or I'm not sure, but we can be hopeful the use of the property will be something that actually fits in with the village and
Well,
the way we are.
simply because of access to the property, it kind of limits it to most businesses.
And it certainly does, it certainly does, yeah.
Here's the thing, Tammy, it's for sale, $549,000. We'd love for you to buy that, donate that to the recreation department so that we can maintain a beach there.
Yeah, someone has me to work another 10 years, I don't
Okay,
think so.
there you go.
And, you know, there's deep pockets right here. We could just pass that.
I think it's like $3.60 a square foot. We could all throw in for a foot.
Well, and
And see where it goes.
there.
And nobody should assume that if somebody did purchase it, that they wouldn't do something wonderful with it
Oh, yeah.
for
Great
residents.
opportunities.
Or maybe just as an investment and still provide access. So it shouldn't be thought of that this is necessarily a negative thing. If we think that way, and it has been for sale forever.
Reserve property has been for
This was
sale.
never a sign on it.
Yeah.
So is property at the west gate. It's been for sale
Everywhere.
forever. And the east gate is pretty current. I don't believe it has been for sale forever, but it is not.
Yeah,
for
and the
sale.
stuff along Balboa Dam and things
Yeah.
for sale.
Outside the Balboa Gate.
Yep.
for sale.
Is for sale across from Mount Carmel.
I think they're just actively marketing the reserved property. And we keep using the pronoun he. This is not a he, this is a corporation. This is
Right.
Cooper Communities Incorporated. It has always been reserved property. It has always been for sale. We know what pieces of our recreation amenities, trails in Cortez Beach have always been reserved property. We've always been very careful, and you'll know when we talk about capital in this committee, you know, when we talk about improvements to beaches, we focus on Balboa Beach, and more recently, we've started focusing on DeSoto Beach. Those improvements are in this year's capital budget. Because we being the POA and the common properties of the membership, we own the deeds to those two beaches.
And I watched the meeting where Mr. Cooper is now chairman of the board, and Mr. Berger
Ken
is
Berger
the
is the CEO.
new president.
Well, whatever.
I think is what they're calling him. And the first thing that I heard him say was, "We're going to sell some land, people." Now they've got holdings all over the United States, not just here.
Yeah.
But that's what he said. And so, you know, they're going to actively, and I'm sure they're doing this in other locations.
They
as
probably still have reserve property in Bella Vista, Cherokee Village, Santa Lakes, you know, there are other properties that they
well.
have.
Could be. Okay. Are you finished?
I was
Is there
gonna
anything
say,
else?
Any other questions?
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say.
Any other questions? And I did forget to say in my comments that they're still looking for people for the election committee. You reminded me when you spoke about the
It's a
election
one-day commitment.
on the 19th. And if you were interested, I even brought the forms with me if anybody wants to apply. It has to be done by tomorrow. No, the 12th. Is tomorrow the 12th?
It does require
No.
at least 30
Wednesday.
people.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
You do it next Wednesday, right? A week from Wednesday.
Yes, we'll sign or will
Draw.
approve or whatever.
So probably by
Yeah,
Friday
yeah.
this week, the
Yeah.
applications have to be
Right,
in, yeah.
but it does require lots and lots of people. It requires more than 30 people to
Mhm. Count
count ballots and
Well, that's not.
double check and check and
requires
check.
identification.
I've done it twice. I'm sick, I'm not gonna be here this year.
It's an 8 to 4:30 basically commitment, 7:45 to 4:30, they do feed you lunch.
Yeah,
It
the
is.
best Subway has to
Ponce-
offer.
It was at the Ponce de Leon Center the last few years. I believe that's where they're going to be counting again this year. But it does require, a lot of bodies. It does save a lot of money. If the ballots were counted at an accounting firm, there's a fee associated with that. So we really do need volunteers. So again, it's a one-day
So
commitment.
if anybody wants to, before you leave.
Okay. All right.
And again, there will be no board director counting ballots.
Yeah.
No.
I just thought I'd throw that out. Just for kicks.
Really? Okay. All right, so I apologize that I digressed, but now, Ms. Hoover.
So I'm going to start out how
Director
Donna ended. So in addition to the Election Day Committee,
Uh,
there are openings on the Recreation Committee, as well as the Trails Committee. I do want to introduce just briefly, right quick, we have Calvin, Mark, and Judy. They are in the audience with us today. One of the things that we are doing is people who are applying for the committee, we're asking them to come see what they're getting themselves involved in. So that is just one of the things that we want to make sure that as people apply for the committee, they understand the kind of the commitment that they're making. So they are with us today. So they may have a question for you guys afterwards. So if you wouldn't mind, don't tell them the horror stories, only tell them the good. Okay? All right. So, come on now. All right. So a couple things. There's a written report, which I'll take any questions on in just a moment, but I do want to talk about coming up on Monday, March the 2nd, is the Putt, Paddle, Racket, and Roll Expo over at DeSoto Club, and that is for golf, tennis, pickleball, lawn bowling, and bocce ball leagues. I think that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 12 different leagues who are going to be available. And I think if not all of them, most of them have signed up to have a booth. I know pickleball was looking for a space to also do some demonstrations. DeSoto Club will have a limited menu that night, so they're normally closed on Monday nights, but they'll be available and have a limited menu and some bar specials going on to kind of entice you to come out and learn about the leagues that you don't already know about. So maybe you're a golfer, but you don't know what pickleball is. Maybe you're a pickleballer and you've never seen bocce ball or tennis or whatever it is. They'll be there to answer any questions that you guys have. We will have some door prize drawings. We'll be giving away some 30-day passes to some of our amenities, including golf and the fitness center and bocce and lawn bowling and all of those kind of things. So I do just want to
What
encourage
time
you to
again
come
is
to that. It is from 4:30 to 7. It is the Putt, Paddle, Racket, and Roll Expo, and it is at DeSoto Club.
It's at the DeSoto Club.
Yeah. All right, and they're going to have wings, chili cheese fries, cheese curds, ham and turkey paninis, Reubens, and Cobb salad on special that night.
Where are they gonna have the booths? Are they gonna be?
So they're going to be in the main dining room area,
Okay.
and then the back dining room other areas will be set up for food. So it's not really there for food. You're there to kind of learn about the different leagues that there are in Hot Springs Village. Now, we have had a lot of questions. There were other organizations or groups that wanted to come in. This is specifically to really promote those leagues because play in those leagues, you pay a fee to use those amenities, right? And so with the renovations that we've had to bocce, the renovations we did about 5 years ago to lawn bowling, the new pickleball courts, and the renovations that we did to the irrigation system at tennis, we really want to increase the usage of those amenities. There is a community fair at the end of the month on March the 25th that is open to all clubs, organizations, churches, and leagues who are looking for new members or volunteers for their organizations, and that's going to be here at the Coronado Community Center. The other thing is I have a meeting. So several years ago, and I think it was even before Terry's time, we had the Performing Arts Alliance, if you guys remember that subcommittee and everything that we did for that, in order to really start to look at the variety, quality, and scheduling of Woodlands Auditorium. It's been about 4 years since we had those initial conversations. We've been using it has been, Holly, it has been that long since we had the initial conversations. We put everything in place for the 2017 year, and so we're working on 2020 here. So we are going to have a kind of an updated meeting with our entertainment stakeholders. That's going to be taking place next week, Terry?
Yes, ma'am. Wait till the 21st.
So we're going to be bringing those groups back in. We're going to be looking at what we put in place initially. Is it working? Do we need tweaks? Basically the conversation is going to be how can we be, how can we be cooperative to each other and not competitive with each other. So just wanted to let you guys know that that's coming up as well. And then after that, I want to encourage you, if you're a member of a club or organization, I have registration forms here for your club or organization to submit their tasks for the community challenge. So you guys remember this 6-month scavenger hunt, basically competition for property owners. Team, if you have 10 members of your team, the team package is up to $37,500. And what that basically is that each member of your team will win a 2021 prize package of golf and recreation amenities.
This says 3,750.
It is per person, but you have 10 people on your team.
Okay.
So for the team, it's $37,500, right? We're having a public meeting, answer any questions for people who are interested in building a team next Wednesday, 6:30 at the Ponce de Leon Center. So just wanted to go over that right quick. And again, I do have these envelopes. So if you're a member of an organization and your organization would like to be included in the tasks, which means, and I'm going to look at Holly just because pickleball. So if Holly's a member of the pickleball club and the pickleball club decided to participate, they would submit 10 tasks, and it could be playing a tournament, it could be joining, paying their membership dues, it could be bringing a guest to pay their membership dues, any tasks associated with pickleball, right? And they don't have to be paid. February 28th. They're all due, well, maybe February 29th, it's a leap year.
It could be
So-
something like come to one of our free,
Open houses or socials, or not everything has to cost money.
Right.
You're going to submit the task. We'll associate a point value and how they're going to tell us that they participated in that task. Some things will be photographs, some things will be receipts, all sorts of different ways, right? So I have a bunch of these on my table up here. You guys will take them and share them with your club or organization. We did email out, Tom said he got an email today. We did email out this information to clubs and organizations as well. And we are partnering with the Chamber of Commerce, so we do have local businesses that are participating. Just to give you an idea, it could be everything from attending an open house, right, to having a glass of wine at Granada on a Tuesday in August. So some things could be very specific to drive people there on a day maybe when they don't have a lot of business. It could also be taking a photograph with your favorite real estate agent, right? So some things cost money, some things don't cost money.
or your favorite banker.
Or your favorite banker. You can take a picture with your favorite banker, right? I didn't want to just,
Take her to dinner.
So there you go. Or take your banker to dinner. There you go.
Even better.
So I did want to go over that. I do want to go over one thing on the recreation statistics. So maybe this is a question that you guys had. Coronado Center and Ponce de Leon Center. So the last couple of years we have done an apples to apples comparison of the number of events taking place in this building, which doesn't really give us a really good idea of what we're doing financially. The number of events don't matter. The number of paid hours that people rent the building, that matters. So we changed up the statistics report this year, and what you see here is a report of the number of paid hours versus the number of comp hours that are in the facility. So when you see Coronado Center labor hours, that's the number of labor hours, that setup and tear down that we charge in here. Paid rental hours, and then the comp rental hours, and then we'll still report the attendance numbers in the facility. So there will not be a comparison to 2019 because that's not how we kept our statistics in the past. We knew what our running financials were, but we didn't keep them by the hour. And we changed up our point of sale this year to allow us to track those hours and to bill from the point of sale system. So when you see Ponce and you see Coronado Center, those are going to be the differences there. Okay? And then, again, I give you the weather impact statement, but I always tell you there's no set way to determine what we lose when it rains outside. We do the best we can by taking the week before, the week after, and this day exactly a year ago, averaging the 3 of those to give you an idea of if we closed the tennis center because it rained on that day, how much revenue did we lose? It doesn't mean that last year that day wasn't 70 degrees and this year it was 31, right? We don't really track that. What we track is the best guess of what we're losing when we have to close an amenity or rain, okay?
I have a question on the statistics.
Okay,
You know, tuned into the East Fitness Center.
Okay.
Annual passes.
okay,
And so am I reading this right, that we have 185 annual passes already sold for
Yes.
2020, with a total of, at 177 last year at this time,
correct,
and a total of 197 for the entire year.
correct.
And the couple annual passes, how did that work, that you ended up with 76 but had 91 in January?
Refunds throughout the year.
Oh, okay. And that
So
is
your
like
apples-
people who passed away,
So
or
not
became-
only people who passed away, but also if they became insurance reimbursement eligible in the middle of the year, then what would happen, so let's say that Donna and Dan had bought a couple's membership, but in the middle of the year, Donna became eligible for an insurance reimbursement program. We refunded the couples,
And made
then we
them
charged Dan a single,
Okay.
and then we put Donna on the insurance reimbursement program. So the difference are the couples membership. And there were that many people last year who either passed away, a permanent disability, or they went into the insurance reimbursement.
Okay, but it's not really that many.
Yeah.
I can see that happening, especially with the reimbursement, the
Yes.
insurance reimbursement. How about, so these are good, the annual passes, the individual annual passes are nice numbers because we've exceeded already the number for last year in an equal month. We lowered the price of an annual membership. How many memberships, because I know we knew what they were going to be, how many we needed if we went to that 350 rate, but what did we need if we went to 400?
220.
220.
That's what we were looking for.
Okay,
220.
that's what I wanted to know, what our goal was. To
Yeah.
break, to hit the revenue number from last year.
220.
220 total?
220. For individuals.
For individuals.
That's the only one I know off the top of my head. If you want the rest of those, I'm not going to know that. But that one is stuck in my head, Jim.
And this, remember that the fitness center is on a rolling 12 months, which is also really,
So that's 23 more than one last year. Is that what you mean? This is 197, okay.
Yeah, it was to break even the budget, and I don't know if, so Donna's question was how many more did we, or how many do we need this year to hit the number that we hit last year,
Yeah.
right? And so what we built those numbers, when we built them, were to the budget numbers that we hit, not to the actual numbers, the 220.
Okay.
So I would need to do a little bit of numbers to figure out what that is, yeah,
I'm just, I mean, I knew where we were at the 350, but I didn't.
yeah,
Yeah.
And I didn't give you any opportunity to get that ready before this meeting.
yeah.
But I think what is really, really critical is that marketing of the rolling 12 months that people do not know about and won't be tuned into because of years of thinking they had to be January to December. So if we aren't getting that word out, we're not going to benefit from that new pricing structure.
Marketing.
I ask for it every single meeting, like Holly asked for a cover, I ask for internal marketing.
Gotcha.
You know, the thing in the reception area, or when you check in, they have a screen
Yeah.
with a bunch of stuff. Maybe that could be added in there for new people
Okay.
that, come for a visit or at the open house, that they can see that they can do it on a rolling.
Well, and you do have an open house coming up, Valentine's Day, right?
Friday,
That's what I
this coming
I
Friday.
was thinking of.
Yeah.
Still need to get it out to people that aren't coming to the open house or aren't involved with the fitness center because they think that we need to disseminate it to wider
Put an
audience.
e-blast out or something. part of your,
It could be in the Village Digest.
Recreation.
It is one of the things that we're looking at for the Village Digest. I did record a Take 5 on KVRE last week that's playing all week long, talking about the 12-month rolling fee, the open house, introduction programs. So we did one just for the fitness center. And we're probably going to, before the first quarter ends, we're going to do a promotional, I hate to call it a campaign, but put together a promotional timeline to promote the 12-month rolling fee before the first quarter ends. So not only have the timeline, but actually implement before the end of the first quarter, which is only in like 7 weeks.
Well, and what I know a lot of people like to join the fitness center in January. They're all motivated to get healthy for the year, but they also had a big bill with their golf and everything else that they may have wanted to do. So this is their chance to say, hey, I now have a little more liquidity and a perfect time I can join the fitness center. So.
I was surprised to see the visits go down, you know.
Well, here's the other thing. We had a much warmer January than we had last year.
That's true.
And I mean, there were a couple of 60 and 70 degree days. People who can go outside and do their walking and exercising, they choose to do that sometimes when the weather's right.
I was here this morning, there were like 20 people waiting on the door by 6 o'clock. I don't believe it.
I got here,
Usually
I got
there's
back
always
to the
6 or
office
8.
I got back to the office at 10 o'clock, and the entire parking lot, all the way down past tennis and the new playground, all of this and the front of the building were completely full. And I'm kind of like everybody else. I'm like, you mean I have to walk to the fitness center? Because I mean, I'm always amazed that they will sit and wait for somebody to move for like an hour. They'll sit in this no parking
go in
spot
and
so that they
exercise.
can go in and exercise.
It's just,
But
that's the way
I
it is.
just, well, I mean, I thought about doing that this morning, but I just circled the parking lot twice, and there was one that opened up. I was like, that's fine. That's my spot.
Yeah.
Okay, and did you have more of your report? Or
No,
are you
if
finished?
any questions that you guys have, I'm more than happy to answer them.
I don't have a question, but I know they put in a kayak launch on the Balboa beach.
Yes.
Yeah, not last week, or I think it was last week. I drove by there and they were working on it.
Good. Good.
All
right, so,
Oh,
for Stacy?
you know, I've put in a lot of updates for the list calendar,
Yes.
and Trina's done a great job. But I've been going back to the calendar. It is pretty damn slow.
We know that there's some issues, and we are working through those. And one of the things that we're looking for is we have some options. So number one, when we were so excited to get the calendar up, and we put all of the videos and we put all the pictures, they weren't optimized. So for those who know websites or you don't know websites, we just used the photos we had. Well, some of those photos we uploaded were 6 meg apiece. So when people would say I couldn't get the calendar, we crashed it because there's 1,000 events, and if they all had a 1 to 6 meg photo on it, we were killing everything, right? So one of the things that we're doing is we went through and we took all the photographs off, and now we're optimizing all of them. And the one thing that we found, and we were really excited about this calendar system, and we're still hoping that we're working with the developers. They were really built for our number of events. And so what we're doing now is evaluating. Do we continue with them, or right now we're actually looking at 3 other cloud-based systems that aren't limited in the number of events. And in fact, they have thousands on them currently, so we know they work with the size of our community calendar. Because the one thing I said is they're like, well, just put 2 months on at a time. No, that wasn't the point of the calendar. The calendar was meant to say, Don's got his kids coming in September, what can they do, which weekend are they coming in based on what they want to do. So we're evaluating that. We took the photos down so it would work faster, and it has improved its speed, or we took the photos down, has improved its speed. So we're working on that now, whether to continue with it. And again, cost factor, once we purchased the software, which was $400 or $500, there's been no cost associated with it other than that. Maybe that was part of the problem. You get what you pay for. So we've looked at some that allow us to have those thousands of events.
Yeah.
And even they're not tremendously expensive, a couple $100 a month. But then we don't have the slow issue, we don't have the issue of it crashing, and we can put the photos back out there. So we're doing our diligence now to do that. It is still better than what we had,
Yeah.
but we're still not quite where we want to be yet.
Buying tickets, you go to the events
Right.
on the primary website. Don't go into.
Yeah,
the
don't
member
try to
resources.
yeah. Any other questions? Okay.
Okay, committee comments, starting with Jim.
The only thing I have is I'm not gonna be available in March.
Oh, that's not a nice comment.
Actually, it's our 50th wedding anniversary, and I got grandkids and people coming, and we're going on a trip for 2-3 weeks, so.
I thought you were gonna go to Balboa
To
Beach.
New Zealand. You're going to New
They're coming in,
Zealand.
so you're going out of town, right?
So I'll be out of pocket on most of March, almost all of March.
Congratulations.
Yeah, maybe you can visit the Shire. The film.
Congratulations on 50 years. That's certainly an accomplishment.
50 years in our 50-year celebration.
Wow.
You had to be so perfect.
I even bought a T-shirt as.
Yeah. Yeah. Dawn,
All right, see now, I'll let you talk me into this.
you let me talk you into this? What was that?
Expanding the number of
Yes.
people that we would have for our seminar.
Yes?
Oh, we've sold 16 tickets so far, and in the past, we were sold out by this point.
So wait a minute. Say that again.
Oh.
How many did you sell before in the past?
We usually had 35 sold and people on the waiting list by now.
And how many do you have sold now?
16,
When is it? When is it?
March the 21st.
Well, so what's different this year?
We went and put it in the auditorium and said we would handle up to 60 people instead of limiting it to 30.
You think that's?
I don't know that that's affecting what you've got.
Oh, I don't
let us,
think it is
Let's
either.
let us do some. Let's put some
That's what I'm
intensive
not-
That's
promotions
where
behind
we
it.
are right now. Now, I mean, I was surprised because usually they move on it real quick, and I would have expected
Yeah, you always
to
have.
have sold 30 tickets.
Do you change the event?
Maybe you taught them everything they needed to know last year.
Well, I mean,
Something's not getting out.
I'm even billing it as, what's changed and, we got
Let's
Brad
do some
talking about all the
intensive-
lakes and stuff. so-
Yeah, let's do some intensive promotions on it from our event standpoint, and let's put some stuff out there and let's see if we can't jump that number in the next week or
Okay,
so.
I just sent some information for a poster to Michael this morning. He's supposed to be
Okay.
adding the base camp logo to it, so you make a
Perfect.
poster.
Okay.
Yeah, that just doesn't sound right. Ray, did you have any comments? Ray is the
But I
liaison
can
for the
blame it on you if
CMPAC.
things go wrong, because you're the one that thinks.
Blame it on me. I just hated seeing all those people sitting on the waiting list. And so it's kind of surprising, but
Yeah.
well, let's see what we can do.
Yeah, let's see what we
right?
can do.
Okay. Any comments, Ray?
No updates from the CMP.
Okay. No CMPAC
Right.
meeting in February?
No, there is a meeting, just they didn't have the updates.
Oh, okay. And it's at the end of the month on a Friday in February? It's
Pardon?
usually the last, isn't it a Friday usually?
Yes,
It's supposed to be
It's-
next
it's
month.
next-
we're actually meeting this Friday at 10:30.
Oh, yeah, it is this Friday at
Yeah.
10. That's right. It's Valentine's Day. Nobody should be meeting on Valentine's Day.
That's right.
Just my thought. Tammy?
Nothing new. We've already talked about art in the village and the art market and all that. And that's been my main focus now.
Okay, good. Holly? Go ahead, Holly.
We've had so much rain in January,
Yes, we have.
which means we play a lot less pickleball outdoors.
What would help that?
A cover.
What
Thanks
great
for
idea.
asking.
What a great idea.
Holly, how many months have you been asking for that? Just so that everybody else who may be a new visitor.
Well, I've been on the committee 6 years.
Okay.
So.
Well, you got your pickleball courts, so you weren't asking for a cover
Exactly.
initially,
Right,
but okay.
right, that was
All
With the
right.
new courts.
4 years ago.
All right. Holly needs a cover for
Thank you.
pickleball. I got
Thank
it.
you, Holly.
Holly, did you show her the video for the cover?
I think she's seen it already.
The marshmallow one? I'm sorry.
She's not a fan. She's evidently not a
I'm
fan.
not a fan of the marshmallow.
Yeah, but that's the best thing to
That's the
use, and
best
everybody
thing.
else is using it.
Yeah.
And it's great advertisement
Yeah.
material.
Okay, Mary.
I really don't, everything's been so muddy.
Yeah.
It's been fun watching the bocce courts develop.
Together?
And, you know, it's like every week there's something new. They painted the parking bumpers and it's coming along. It's very nice. I think once it gets dried up, we'll see more people.
We don't have a date set to go over there and do a site visit
No, we
because
want-
we're waiting for the weather to get better.
And we're waiting for the bathroom to be done.
Yeah, well, I mean,
We're gonna talk about that. in a second.
okay, I don't know if we're waiting for it
So
necessarily to
other
be
than
done,
that, no,
but-
there's nothing.
Okay.
What I will say is, just right quick, so Mary, they are spraying the dog park on Friday for winter weeds going into the spring. So the dog park will be closed Friday the 14th, this coming Friday, and the 15th. They'll have signs up,
They'll have
and we've been
something
putting up on
posted.
social media, and we have it on the calendar, but I just wanted to
Okay.
point that out. So the
So
dog park
it's
will be
the
closed for the weeds. This Friday.
14th and 15th.
We figured it was Valentine's Day, everybody should stay home with their dog.
Well, and I'll put it on
Right.
the
You'll
dog,
put
the
it on your
dog
dog
park
Facebook page, that would be awesome, thank you.
That's right. Little doggy treats.
That's
with
right, take your
hearts
dog
and
home.
everything.
Yeah.
Okay, Tom.
Oh, nothing except to tell Jim, we had our 50th in 2018 and the license does not expire.
So carry on. Okay,
Serena.
and then, Serena, sorry about you. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Nothing to report.
Okay,
I just didn't want to forget you.
well, I thought you might, she's in New Orleans, so.
Oh.
Be having a whole lot more fun and decided to give this up.
Yeah, she just
March
hosted a
was a lot of
hurricane.
fun, and I've been eating.
All righty, very good. And on to the next item on the agenda, which is old business, subcommittee updates, the recap. This is the Coronado Center deliberative engagement that we've been working on for months. And this is the recap of the fitness/tennis group
Yeah.
of residents.
So you guys have the summary documents. We've been sending those out after each one. So this should be your fourth summary document written. And then we'll just go ahead and do 1 and 2 together under Coronado Center Deliberate Engagement. So you have 4 and 5 with you today. Remember, we had discussed both at the subcommittee level and then at the committee level that for the RV park users, since they were such close proximity and there's a trail, that we were going to reach out to them electronically only. We did that, so we asked them the 4 questions. Were you aware of events taking place at CCAC? Did you attend them? If you attended them, how did you hear about them? And if you didn't know about them, how would you like to? And so it was funny because, initially there were 19 who said they weren't aware of events taking place, and then in a later question, there were 18 that said they weren't aware of events taking place. So I'm kind of thinking in some of that there's some mind, maybe, issues going on. But so you have both of those feedback documents. Remember that coming up, we're doing the library users on February the 24th. That email went out last week to 900 plus. We're taking the first 60 RSVPs for each additional 20 groups of 20 that want to come in. We'll schedule some additional dates should we need to. We did that same process with the fitness center and tennis center because remember we've got about 4,000 or 5,000 users in those 2 facilities, and we still only had 40 who came to the event. It's not the only opportunity for these groups to comment, so we'll have the public meeting, the community meeting on April the 27th. That is a Monday. And what we'll do is we'll have all of the summary documents, all of the information that's been put forth from all of the different groups. And we'll need, I really need you guys to mark your calendar on that date because I really, really need each of you guys to be available on the 27th of April. Because one of the things that we're going to do is we'll have the information available in the auditorium where they can go by and look and comment. But if they want to have a one-on-one conversation with a recreation committee member, just like we've done in the deliberative engagements, that's what I need you guys here to do, is so that they can sit down with you and answer those same questions. So they go through the auditorium, they've seen the suggestions and they don't like anything, or they don't agree with anything. They have completely new ideas. I need committee members who are willing to sit down and talk to them so that we can combine those ideas that they have with ideas that have been put forth from each of these deliberate engagement groups.
Will you post anything at the library for people to see?
Yeah, so we'll have a poster going up later this week, just to remind people. But we sent those emails out, I think, on Friday afternoon. And there were, of the 900 or so, there were about 40 who didn't have an email address. So we're mailing letters to those users, just so that we're not missing people just because they don't have electronic access.
What time is the meeting on the 27th?
6:30.
In the morning?
No, 6:30 in the evening.
How are you advertising for the April meeting?
We haven't started yet, but we'll be doing the Village Digest. We'll be putting it out on our social media accounts. We'll put up flyers and posters at all of the
I'm
amenities.
just saying the same thing, because there's a lot of people that don't have email, and somehow you gotta get.
Well, if all they do is stay at home, they're probably not going to see it. If they don't have electronic access to email or social media, they don't get the Village Digest, and they don't use an amenity, then they're not going to see it. But if they use an amenity, we'll have it up at all of our amenities. We put it up at the POA admin building. We put posters up in 5 different locations.
I'm getting a T-shirt that says
She's
"Meet on
gonna-
April 27th."
How about the community calendar and the voice?
Yeah.
I don't.
KVRE?
They normally limit those to 501c3 nonprofits, which of course we're not. But I've never asked, so I don't mind asking.
And KVRE, the same thing.
Yeah,
So the
KVRE.
community calendar
And Nikki put on.
on KVRE and the Village Voice. Okay. It doesn't hurt to ask. That's right.
Okay, that pretty well wraps up that, unless anybody has any other questions. Yes, ma'am?
I need to know who can facilitate and meet with the library users on February the 24th.
Me.
So if you guys, I'll shoot an email out just so that you can respond via email.
I'm
But
available.
say that again, Serena.
I'm available.
Thank you. But I'll send you guys an email if you guys will respond to let me know. We had a pretty good group at the last one, but we had a couple people come sick or fall sick before the event. So Katrina and I actually facilitated a table, which is somewhat unusual. We don't normally do that, but you guys, I think 2 or 3 were
I didn't
sick,
show up.
and well, that's okay. Things happen, and you can't get here.
I
so,
had actually crossed it off my calendar because you didn't.
Well, I said there weren't
That's
that
what
many, and then
happened.
all of a sudden there were a lot who are.
That's what happened to me.
By the time I got the email saying.
Well, now just put them on your calendar. We're just going to have them.
And
We're just
so
gonna-
I had already made other plans.
That's all right.
That's
So
what
February
happened to me.
24th, March 16th is going to be the Coronado Center users, and then the public meeting on the 27th. I know I'll need everybody.
You have me down already on the 24th and the 27th. I've already got it in my.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just not.
Yeah, it's
available
on my
the 16th.
calendar.
I had sent it to you guys, so I'll send the dates out again if you'll just make sure. February 24th will be coming up in about 17, 18 days. So just want to make sure that we have enough people to do that. Actually, if today's the 10th, in 14 days, I'll need you guys for the library users meeting.
Now I have something written down here for the 17th.
17th of February?
Yeah. Did we just switch it, or did I just put the date down wrong? It's the 24th, not the 17th?
It's the 24th, not the 17th,
Okay.
because it was President's Day.
Okay. Well, then I
So
can
we-
take that off.
Yeah,
So I don't show up here going, where's my group?
everybody's going to the races, so we wanted to make sure we had enough people to facilitate the meeting.
Okay. Okay, so on to the second item under old business, which are site visits. And we'll have a pickleball site visit prior to our our March meeting. So that is March 9th at 2 o'clock at the pickleball courts. And then we'll meet at the DeSoto Multipurpose Hall for our rec meeting at 3. Okay? Outdoor pool, we're going to have a site visit for the committee, April 13th. April 13th is that also the pool, is that our
Should be a
meeting? Yes, it is, 2 o'clock at the pool, 2 o'clock, and then follow that with the rec committee meeting back here. We'll be holding that here. And we have no other upcoming site visits scheduled. We're just kind of waiting on the bocce ball. And you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we'll just take just a second.
Okay.
So one of the things we talked about visit, once we had the bathroom plans. So remember, number one, there's a bathroom currently at Lawn Bowling, which is a good example of deferred maintenance. It needs to be replaced. That was a nice way. It definitely needed some renovations. The renovations when we moved bocce there, that bathroom was already built before the dog park went in. And so now that we have dog park users, we have bocce users, we have lawn bowling users, and we have 2 trailheads in that location. A more substantial bathroom facility is needed there that also provides storage for both the lawn bowling club and the bocce ball club, something that they had and have in their current facilities. So we got the draftsman's plans back last week. We'll be putting that out. So in answer to the requests made by the clubs, and in looking at the numbers and what we have there, it is going to be I hate to call it a 3-hole. It's going to be 3 bathrooms. I grew up in the South. Look, I'm a Southern girl. So we're going to have 3 bathrooms, all ADA accessible, with 2 storage facilities, one for bocce on one side, one for lawn bowling on the other, and then with a covered area for them to be able to sit down and between play and have something to eat or have socials, because that's a big part of recreation in Hot Springs Village. So I have the plans here, so just to kind of hold them up just so that you understand. So this is the bocce club. Yeah. So this is the bocce club storage here. And then we have, and this is the back of the building, so this is where the driveway comes in, right? So this then faces the bocce lanes down here, and the lawn bowling lanes are here. And it's going to sit between the 2 facilities. So you have lawn bowling storage here, you have the 3 ADA accessible restrooms. This is the covered, then picnic pavilion kind of area. So people from the dog park would be able to walk over if they didn't want to use the porta potties. They'd be able to use the restrooms.
Don't take the porta potties away.
Yeah, we won't take them away because it is a walk.
It's a walk.
It is a walk, but it is an option, And then we have this utility chase here, and by having this in the way that we've designed this building, this is the only place that we have to put in heating and the portable heaters, so that this is where all the plumbing is. So we don't have freezing pipes and all of that kind of stuff. So just to give you an idea of the front, so what it actually looks like.
Do they have a sink for cooking? I mean, for making coffee and doing those kinds of things?
So what we were doing is in one of the bathrooms, we were going to put one of those utility style sinks for them to be able to put their crock pots and their coffee pots and run deep water down into. So just to give you an idea of the front side of the building. So the front of the building, when you're looking at it, it's going to look like this. So it'll have the pavilion area here. Then you're going to see a bathroom go into storage, and then you're going to have a going into storage here, and then bathroom, bathroom, and bathroom. Okay. So we did budget this in capital for 2020. It is a budgeted expense at I think $70,000. So we have those back. We'll be sharing the plans. So I am getting ready to request the electronic copy from the draftsman. We'll be sharing the plans with both the bocce club and the lawn bowling club, so that they'll have an opportunity to see the plans before we bid the project out. Once we bid the project out, construction will begin, and we'll hope to have it done by end of second quarter.
Right.
Tammy?
How big are the storage areas? Because I know they were talking about that when they met.
They're just over 150 square feet.
Okay. And then the pavilion area?
25 by 55.
Oh, okay. That's
So
plenty.
yeah, it's plenty of area. Now 8 feet of that, 8 feet of the 8 feet of the 25. So it's 17 by 55. It's really long though.
And then the bathrooms, you said portable heaters?
Yeah. So the heaters will actually be in. We use those space heaters. We use them in the utility chase. So we don't heat the bathrooms, we heat the utility chase, because the only thing that we're trying to heat are the plumbing lines. They
Okay,
don't really play a lot in the middle of winter. They certainly don't play in the rain, and they don't play when it's 30 degrees. But we want to make sure that the pipes aren't going to freeze either.
so you're gonna turn off, are you gonna close the bathrooms down like you do the pavilions?
We're not. By putting by putting the heaters in the utility chases, we don't have to drain the buildings.
Awesome.
So they'll be available year round.
And then what are gonna be the hours of the bathrooms and how are they gonna be maintained?
So that's something we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Trails. The trails,
Yeah.
would still be in.
So operations of how the bathrooms, when they're going to, who's going to clean them and all that, those are all be worked out within them, among the POA staff and the clubs themselves.
Okay?
I have a question on the pool contract.
Okay.
Is that contractor responsible for repairing the parking lot, or is that gonna be something? you guys-
That whole parking lot is being redone by the streets department. It was budgeted. The DeSoto Club parking lot and the DeSoto Club parking lot, the golf shop parking lot, and the pool parking lot are all being
Yeah. I noticed he
redone there.
did some of the sidewalk that he destroyed, I guess. but-
That whole sidewalk is coming out. So it's all coming out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He hasn't done all that yet, I guess. But he does it?
No, the sidewalk was us. It's
Oh,
POA. So that's part of what we'll be doing once they pull out at the end of this week.
Oh,
Because they finished basically. All they really need to do is come back and put in their water. They have a punch list.
yeah.
But the ADA ramps were their only responsibilities in the front of the building. We're taking that sidewalk out in order to put the ADA ramps in.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't fit with the sidewalk because of the elevation changes there. But we'll be putting in curbs and all that kind of stuff.
And landscaping and all that has been done?
So landscaping, we've actually been working with Kathy and Al Edmondson. Thank you for bringing that up. So Kathy and Al Edmondson, I've been working with them over the last several months. They presented us with a plan last week. And we're working in conjunction with the golf course superintendent and assistant superintendent at DeSoto. And putting in the irrigation, and then we're working with grounds maintenance on the front of the building. There's a pretty significant slope there, so we're using rock on one side to really hold the slope. We'll be doing the landscape plan that was presented, and the Men's Village Garden Club will be paying for. So they'll be doing the plantings along the building itself, and then the slope will be installed and cared for and planned by the golf superintendents and grounds maintenance crews.
Have we done anything about walkability now that the outdoor pool's there over to the outdoor area, the pickleball, all that?
There's a trail. So the Trails Committee planned a trail there. It's called the DeSoto Recreation Trail. The portion that runs in front of the DeSoto Club and then comes up. So the new DeSoto Recreation Trail will run from the DeSoto Multipurpose Trail, which is back behind the golf maintenance. It'll come up through an old golf cart trail that was already there. We've made improvements in that in 2019's budget to the concrete and some washed out areas and some bridge structures. It'll come up by golf maintenance. It'll come across the parking lot at the old 19th hole. And it'll come up by the patio area at DeSoto Club. It'll cross the parking lot. So there's already some crosswalks in the parking lot. There'll be a couple of more. We've installed the portion of the trail that runs in the road right-of-way in front of DeSoto Club. Goes all the way down in front of the pool, comes out at the corner where we put in the new sidewalk and the bridge last year, connects over in front of the DeSoto recreation area building. It'll go through where that new parking lot is going in for pickleball this year, and it will connect to the Sonora Colella Trail. So basically what you're going to get is a loop that's going to go from the DeSoto Multipurpose Trail down in front of the 19th hole, DeSoto Club, the pool, pickleball, mini golf, and connect over to Sonora Colella, which then connects down and goes back to the DeSoto Multipurpose Trail, creating a really good loop in that area that we haven't had in the past.
Good.
Any other questions? All right, so final item there under old business was the Balboa Beach access for Stars and Stripe Festival. We had a meeting or a study session, whatever you want to call it, at 2 o'clock for those of you who may just be joining us now at 3 o'clock. Do we want to recap that? You want to recap that a little bit?
I think what we have to do for the minutes is recap that we've put a subcommittee together so that it's in the minutes, and then who's assigned to that subcommittee. So
Okay. All right, so we did establish a subcommittee made up of Dawn, Serena, Tom, and Donna to work with Stacy and Jamie to come up with some ideas of how to address resident and guest usage of Balboa Beach for the 4th of July holiday.
Well, Larry's not here, he ought to be on that committee too.
Who?
Larry's not here, so he ought to be on that.
Oh,
committee.
yeah, right, uh-huh.
Well, I was gonna say,
Assign
I'm
him.
more than happy to ask Larry, but I hate to assign people to
Yeah.
a subcommittee when they're not here. to
We
volunteer
needed
for
3
it.
or 4, and I think we have that 3 or 4, so
Yeah.
that's
I
fine.
think especially
kind-
right now.
He's
kind
got
of-
his hands full.
Yeah, right now he's,
That feels
Yeah,
good.
he's not feeling well.
good, right?
Okay, and so we'll take a look at that. We take all input from anybody that wants to supply it, but we'll get started. Okay, then on to new business is the EAPS project for the Woodlands.
All right,
That's Stacy.
so if you guys are unfamiliar, and we've talked about this a lot in Capital, but for everybody else, EPIS is the type of material that is on the outside of the Ponce de Leon Center. So similar to stucco, but not quite what traditional stucco is known of, right? That building was built in the early 90s. It was opened in 1991. So it was built in the late 80s and early 90s. And in fact, it was dedicated on September the 15th of 1991. It's my knowledge base. There you go. And so the material itself begins to, when it takes a lot of abuse from animals or from weather or from whatever it is, there are little holes, right, in the stucco material. You can't just go on and patch the material. It's not built such that you can do that. And the paint for the material is built into the material. So if you try to put paint back into that material, what we're gonna get is a polka dotted building, right? So as part of the repair, which is considered a deferred maintenance item, as part of that repair, paint gets mixed in. So we have this opportunity to paint the building, which doesn't sound like much, but if you'll take an opportunity over the next couple of weeks to drive by and really look at the building, it needs it, right? We have some options here. We can go back with the exact same paint scheme. We can go with, and it's a peach, a green, and a barn red. If you haven't looked at the colors of that building, I encourage you to drive by. It's peach, moss green, and a barn red, basically.
I thought
right?
that was mold.
No,
I
it's
thought it
not.
was mold too.
It's not. That's
Seriously.
the color of so that building was painted 3 different colors. What we've done is that project was budgeted in 2019. Because it wasn't done in 2019, we're requesting rollover funds because there was capital money remaining at the end of 2019. We'll be requesting that from the board of directors at a vote at their April meeting, right? At that point, we'll have the funds to do that. But what we want to do instead is we want to provide the community an opportunity. Because here's the thing, I really want to, it's an arts center. I want to go dramatic, right? I want to do some really cool colors on it. And I scared some people. So, so I was like, I understand that it's a dramatic change, so why don't we, I took it to the administration and they're like, let's make this a community project. Let's give people the opportunity to comment on these colors, right? And let's not just give them your choice, Stacy. Actually, the blue that I like is even darker than this. It's called Endless Sea. But anyway, the conversation was such that we really ought to give the community an opportunity to weigh in because it is a dramatic change that we're looking at. So one of the things that we're going to be starting is a process in which we're going to ask the community to provide input on a color palette change to Woodlands Auditorium. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to give you choice A and choice B and you have to choose from one of these two. We're going to give you the original color scheme too. We're going to give you 3 other color schemes that are pre-approved from ACC that are within our color palette that are going to be different from each other so people will really have an opportunity. And they can choose option E. They can submit their own color palette, right? So we're going to it's about a 4 or 5 week window where we're going to put it out there on social media and electronic survey, but we're also going to have posters up at the POA, at the Ponce de Leon Center, and over here at the Fitness Center, where people can see the colors. We're going to encourage them to go by and see them, and here's why. The color of your shirt on a building, especially that stucco material, doesn't look the same. And it doesn't look the same if it's in this lighting versus outside versus under the porte-cochere. So we're going to create an area where we may have the paint colors in a size about like this with each of the different palettes, so people can go by and actually see what it's going to look like. And we'll put it in an inconspicuous place, so it's not like when you drive down the road, they're like, what are they doing to that building, right? But we want the opportunity for the community to be able to say, because here's the thing, the building is almost 30 years old, and we want people to be able to say for the next 30 years, you know, that was a good choice, not what were they thinking, right? So we want everybody to have that opportunity to weigh in, because it is, and some of the color choices may be more neutral, and some of them may be a little bit more dramatic. I do have a meeting scheduled with the Village Arts Council in March, so I'll be talking with them, because one of the things that if you've never looked at the back of the Woodlands Auditorium, there are 3 different levels of buildings, right? We don't have to paint the whole building the same color. You could paint those different blocks of the building where the theater addition comes in, and where the loading dock is, and then where the rehearsal room are. You could do those in 3 different colors, because what we're going to give you is a 3-color palette. So each palette will have 3 colors in the palette, and then we're going to give you 3 different palettes plus the original. Plus you can choose your own. Pink is not one of them, Tammy.
No, I don't.
Okay.
What made you ever think
Oh,
that?
I was just thinking, because you know that's the one thing
it's gonna be
ACC
a hard
says, we're
time.
not going to let you paint pink.
Okay.
So
really, if you're gonna ask people to like go by and look,
Mhm.
the color samples need to be up at the Woodlands, because the light's different, and so the color won't look the same. So if you put it up, you know,
it's going to be on the
It's
Woodlands
gonna actually
building.
be on the building.
Because the Washita Activities Building is mostly windows. So if you want to see what paint color is going to look like, it'll have to be down on the Woodland side. Remembering that it's an arts center. One of the things that we want to do, and one of the things that we talked about earlier this year, was to actually have and get a group of artists together to do some sort of mural on a portion of the Woodlands, because it is our arts center. But we really need to get our paint in place for it. We need to have the building, number one. You can fix the building, but you have to mix the paint color in with the fix on the building. So first and foremost, this is a deferred maintenance project. The color is just kind of like the icing on the cake. But if we're going to have to fix it anyway, you might as well get the color that you want instead of, you know, and the color the community may choose may be peach, cream, and a barn red. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's been that color for almost 30 years. But it is an opportunity for the community to be able to talk about and look at and get excited about doing something that'll last another 25 years or so. And that's the life expectancy of that material. About every 25 years it needs to be skim coated, and with that skim coat comes paint.
What about where the car hit it?
So that is, thank you for the elephant in the room. Those repairs are moving forward, and they might try to match the color of the building that's there existing, but we still need to have the repairs made as soon as possible. So the repairs are moving forward, but it would get an additional skim coat. So they're going to repair what they need to repair, but when they put the skim coat, you wouldn't be able to not skim over the repair, because you'd need a solid surface all the way across, a level surface. So we'll be skim coating the whole building with the new color.
Any other questions? All right, so we have, we'd happily accept some comments from the audience. If you have anybody have some comments on any of the subjects we covered today, or something else? Questions? Questions? Oh, very quiet. Wow. Hang on, Donna. Nancy has a question.
I wondered if the 3 people that have applied for this committee we're never gonna hear from them again.
I don't know if you want to ask that.
I'm sorry.
All right. I need a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor? Quick meeting today, people.